I imagine most people really love having companions in Fallout. They can add a lot of charm to the wasteland by having a backstory, commenting on events, and, naturally, being an extra set of hands that can help you on your journey. Everyone has their own favorites, and with each game, the focus on companions can, and often has, increased. So I'll go through each single player game and their DLCs that have multiple, relatively long-term followers, and talk about who my favorite is in each installment. Let's begin. So out of all the games, the original Fallout probably has the least interesting set of companions. They're basically just hired guns, and their usability really takes a bit of a dive after the mid-game, given that, in the vanilla experience, you cannot even upgrade their armor. For this reason, Tycho, I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, is probably the most useful with his leather armor. Still, I wouldn't say that he's my favorite. Dogmeat is a lot of people's favorite, but the game's constantly putting in a Dogmeat has really removed the novelty for me. Katja, again I butcher her name pronunciation, is recruited so late in most playthroughs that she's nothing more than a distraction in most fights. I will say Ian's my favorite because of how much he can help you in the early game. And with an SMG, the burst damage he can do can not only hurt a lot of enemies, but also hurt you, which is sort of charming in a way. He's more of a fun memory in the sense that he costs a number of reloads for so many people. It's become something of an inside joke for classic players. While I didn't have as many problems as some of them, reading the posts puts a smile on my face. So yes, Ian's my favorite in the original Fallout. In Fallout 2, the personality of the companions really takes a jump up. There's a lot of memorable characters between the likes of Marcus the Super Mutant of Broken Hill, who returns as a quest giver in New Vegas, Cassidy, who really should have had a talking head in the original release, but there is the restoration mod, and even Vic, who also should have had a talking head. Still, I think my favorite, like the OG Fallout, is most people's first companion, Solik.
What you be needin'?
Between his voice work, his random phrases that are hard to tell if it's nonsense or actual guidance, and the sheer combat viability, Solik is definitely my favorite in Fallout 2. That's not to say that Marcus or Cassidy aren't great, they certainly are. But Solik shines through pretty strongly. I guess I also have a bit of a fondness because in my restoration playthrough many years ago, going guns blazing in the oil rig, he was the only survivor besides my chosen one. Yeah, Solik is pretty cool. I'm not sure how popular of an opinion this is, but I kind of found the Fallout 3 companions to be a step below Fallout 2 while also being a step above Fallout 1. In a sense, they all felt like the Fallout 1 styled hired guns. While also being a tad more interesting than them, still I didn't find them as interesting as the ones in Fallout 2, though at least they're certainly more usable than the Fallout 1 presentation. Fox and Dogmeat are a lot of people's favorites because they're broken as hell with the fittingly named Broken Steel DLC installed. But like I said, I became a bit tired of Dogmeats over time. I'm just not as hung up with Fox as I am Marcus, Lily, or even Strong in terms of personality. I think it has to do with the voice direction. I'm not sure. Out of all of them, I found Jericho to be the most interesting, fairly foul-mouthed, complaining about his age, and just having a backstory of a former raider is more interesting than most others. That said, like a lot of companions, he is pretty weak, so he's likely to die in the wastelands. Still, I found Jericho to be the most interesting even if he's not terribly useful. So, out of all of the Fallout 3 DLCs, Mothership Zeta is really the only one to offer multiple followers with a personality. That said, like the entire theme of Mothership Zeta, they're kind of a little out there being from different eras of time. If you find that humorous, it can be a little charming. Soma is the most fitting to the base game, being a wastelander like you. Elliot is relatively close by being a soldier during Operation Anchorage, but then there's a cowboy and a samurai. Still, I'm not personally sold on it as much as others might be. But if I had to choose, I kind of remember the cowboy, Paulson, more than any other companion. I don't know why though. I don't feel he was interesting either, but he's the one who sticks to my memory the most. So I guess I choose him. The New Vegas companions are arguably the most fleshed out, offering a lot of memorable characters and moments. It also helped that there was a number of companion quests and perks offered by them with different triggers found in the wasteland. Boone and his backstory is a draw for a lot of people, Veronica and her personality for others. Raul's voice work and history as well as complaining about his age is a lot of fun, and Lily's angry grandmother attribute can be pretty funny. An arcade's immediate question dodging and idealist nature is a fun mix. Then there's Eddie, who has an adorable charm to him, and Rex is a cool cyber dog and not a dog meat. Surface level, I know, but it was a nice change. Still, out of all the base companions, it's Rose, Sharon Cassidy, the daughter of Cassidy of Fallout 2, that I gravitate towards the most. Her foul-mouthed, talkative, drunken nature is much like her dad's, and I find that chattiness a joy to have around. She's fairly useful in combat, though arguably not as useful as Boone, but it's her opinionated personality that I feel makes her. Some find her annoying, and I get that, but for me, Cass is great and arguably better than her father. There's really only 3 companions in Honest Hearts: Follows Chalk, Walking Cloud, and Joshua Graham. Graham is probably a lot of people's favorite, but he's only a companion for the final quest of the DLC. He's more memorable of a character than he is a companion. Walking Cloud is the companion for the second part of the DLC, but for some reason, despite my numerous playthroughs, I just don't remember her that well. I'm not entirely sure why. Follows Chalk I felt was more memorable, being the one that you first meet and follows you around the first part of the DLC. He gives you a lot of insight into the ways people think, even as a player character, about things they probably don't spend much time thinking about, like the noisiness of your caps, or civilized people spending money to watch people flip cards. It's an interesting perspective to say the least. Like Honest Hearts, there's only 3 companions in Dead Money, sort of. But unlike Honest Hearts, all 3 felt more memorable to me. Christine, Dean Domino, and Dog/God, which is where that sorta slides in. Christine had a memorable debut, being trapped in an autodoc, but her forced inability to speak caused her to be less interesting, especially for slow readers like me who can't read what she's signing fast enough before the game moves on to the next set of text. However, she gets her ability to speak back by the end of Dead Money, and I feel that makes it more powerful. Dog/God and Dean Domino really fight for first place, and it's actually hard for me to decide which I like better. I enjoy them both, but I think I have to give it to Dean. Don't get me wrong, the split personality of the Nightkin is intriguing. The simple, animal-like obedience versus the well-spoken, rather foreboding character. However, Dean's manner of speech, conniving, self-interested personality, and the fact that even so much as passing a skill check when you first meet him causes the character to turn on you at the end of the DLC is great. That last part, yeah, is kind of a betrayal from a gameplay standpoint. That's been the instant win button up until this point, but it was new. Yeah, Dean is my favorite of Dead Money. The class of Fallout 4 is definitely a step up from Fallout 3. Maybe not as good as the Fallout New Vegas class, but depending on the day, I can either rank Fallout 4's class just above or just below Fallout 2's class. They took some lessons from New Vegas, companion quests and perks, but they were memorable. Nick is probably most people's favorite besides Dogmeat. Strong is fun for the basic East Coast mutant mindset, a bit of a change from his predecessors. Preston arguably gets the short end of the stick only thanks to the fact that he's a radiant quest giver. Kate and Hancock are pretty fun from a rougher life standpoint, and it was kinda cool to see McCready evolve from his days at Little Lamplight. I think Piper might be my favorite, but it's kinda hard to say. They're mostly all about equally good for different reasons. I feel her rationality for joining you is kind of weak, but I did like her inquisitive nature and unique animations when you first meet her as she's trying to force her way back into Diamond City. That is something that is sparingly seen in Fallout. Might also just be one of those, they're one of the early people I grabbed type of situation for me. But yeah, I like Piper. She's pretty cool. Sadly, there's not a collection of companions offered by the DLCs. Still, it's nice that you can have Longfellow and Gage follow you back to the Commonwealth. If we, unfairly mind you, counted them as base game companions because of that sole reason, then Gage would be my favorite. I like the whole raider with the ability to strategize aspect of him. Anyway, those were my favorite companions. Who are yours? And before you go, I have a survey that I'm running as of this video over your Fallout Dream game. Link is in the description. And a special thanks to my channel members, especially my gamestwiceover members like That Crazy Game Developer and Danny McPhee. If you'd like to support me and join as well, I'd be more than happy. Otherwise, like, share, subscribe, all that typical YouTube stuff. Thank you. Have a good one.